Hello, thanks for watching the Carolina Justice Report. I'm Rainey Romero with the Lovely Law Firm. Today we're chatting with partners Justin Lovely and Amy Lawrence all about mass torts, ones that we cover and what they are. All right, Justin and Amy, thanks for chatting today. So, mass torts, what the heck is that?
So mass torts, unlike a single event case, like a car wreck or maybe a workers' comp or a job injury, anything like that, it's different because these are torts that affect several people, maybe hundreds, maybe thousands of people have a claim. And essentially, the federal courts have set up a system to, instead of everybody trying to bring every individual lawsuit and have to go through the discovery process, the full litigation process, they centralize these claims and hopefully an MDL if it's created. And what that does is allows us to basically have one set of lawyers do all the discovery one time for all these cases. Okay. And it keeps the cost down for the defense. It also keeps the cost down for each individual person.
And what's an MDL?
A multi-district litigation.
Gotcha.
Is what it's a federal rule, federal process that will allow that to get set up. So what happens is once these are set up, you still have an individual claim that can be it's individual, but usually these cases will settle in mass, allows everything to be centralized to keep the cost down again. And these are the kind of cases that we help with. But the issue is a lot of individuals, especially here in South Carolina, are unaware of certain MDLs that may be set up or new mass torts that they could qualify for if it affects them.
Right.
And if you don't know until you're too late, or if a case settles, it's over with.
Yeah. What is that kind of statute of limitations for this?
Well, that's the thing. Normally, you think there's either in South Carolina we're a 3-year state, but some states have 2-year statutes of limitations. In mass torts, really, sometimes the statute of limitations doesn't even apply. It just depends. But generally, you still will have us on a state-by-state basis, the 3-year or the 2-year.
Yeah. So that's interesting. So that's nationwide, not just South Carolina.
They could be nationwide, right? It could
everywhere.
be, yeah. When the MDL's set up, basically every lawyer, whether it's Lovely Law Firm here in Myrtle Beach and Charleston, we're going to put our cases into the MDL. It could be somebody in Tennessee, somebody in California. We'll put it into that centralized MDL court.
Interesting. Okay, so let's chat about some of these. The first one being CPAP. I've heard a lot about this. Tell folks what it is.
So CPAP, for those millions of people have sleep apnea disorders. And in order to have a good night's rest, a doctor will diagnose a CPAP or a BiPAP machine. So the issue with these CPAP cases are if you had a Philips Respironics brand, and there's several brands that have been recalled. You can go to our website, justiceslovely.com, and look at our CPAP page. There's a list of everyone that's been recalled. But what was happening is there's a design flaw where they had foam that was meant to try to keep the noise down while you slept. But the problem was when you're breathing in this air through the CPAP machine, the foam would degrade over time and you end up inhaling these chemicals. And so, we're still investigating it. Some of the science says that may cause some cancers. It definitely is causing, lung irritation, some breathing issues, a lot of different health problems. So we're looking into those cases. This is a very fresh mass tort that we're looking into, but we think it's going to be a very large mass tort due to the sheer number of CPAP machines that were recalled.
Absolutely. It's terrible when you get something that is supposed to help you and you feel like you're doing the right thing for you health-wise, and it ends up backfiring with something like that.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the next one, Zantac. So tell folks about Zantac and kind of how that's used.
So we've been involved with Zantac for a while. And, if you heard, we've done other Justice Report podcasts about Zantac. And the thing about mass torts is as the science develops, the criteria for what will be an actionable case narrows and narrows. And that's what's happened in Zantac. Essentially with Zantac, ranitidine, Zantac is the brand name, ranitidine is the chemical name. It's an unstable molecule. And so when this is either digested, it forms NDMA in your stomach. NDMA could form in the ranitidine molecule itself during storage, during shipment, because these things are being shipped, these pills, to different distribution hubs, then to the...
They get hot, they're not stored cold.
Right.
The stability of it is just...
Yeah. So
NDMA is what?
NDMA is a cancer-causing carcinogen. Its only purpose is its only commercial purpose is to cause cancer in lab animals, in mice.
Yeah.
So what they do is they inject scientists inject mice with NDMA to create cancer
To study it.
to study it.
Yeah.
And so if this is in something, if you're taking Zantac, you're ingesting this. Okay, so that's what the lawsuit is about.
Wow.
And so it's evolved over time. At first, we were looking at a lot of cancers, but just like any mass tort, science and the different criteria develop over time. These are about to go to bellwether trials, and that's essentially where these cases, the plaintiffs' cases, are going to be put up to see how strong is the science. Is a jury going to side with the plaintiffs and give a verdict that will help us? But the cancers have narrowed down to bladder cancer, liver cancer, pancreatic, and stomach cancers. That's what the science suggests if you're taking Zantac and it's going through your bloodstream, the NDMA is being created, and that's kind of the places in the body that the science is supporting for a Zantac case.
And so a part of this case, you have to have been prescribed it, and it has to be a Zantac specifically.
Yeah. So there was a court ruling. At first, we were signing generic Zantac because you can buy it over the counter.
Yeah.
And they've actually changed Zantac. I think it's called Zantac 360. They changed it to a different formula to keep selling that Zantac brand name. But you had to have been, there was a court ruling that got rid of generics. So if you were just taking generics, you don't have a case.
Wow.
Now that could be revived. There's some talk that we're still fighting it as a plaintiff's bar to get that revived. But for now and for the MDL moving forward, it's only those people who were prescribed and taking brand name Zantac.
Gotcha.
Which, when we learned in this litigation, our little boy had severe reflux when he was born because he was premature, and so we gave him compound ranitidine for 2 years.
Yeah.
My heart sank immediately. I took him to Dr. Pham, our pediatrician. I'm like, make sure he's okay.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I mean, he was, thank God, but like so many families don't get that
Absolutely.
that luxury.
Yeah, and it's so it's scary stuff. They're about to go. It's about to progress to the trial phase.
Yeah.
And then we'll kind of know. But we're still taking those cases. You can
Very
still get your
scary.
case in.
Okay, good to know. The next one is NEC, and we've done a Carolina Justice Report story on this. So if you want to deep dive further into that, you can check that out. But tell folks that don't know what NEC is.
Yeah, so necrotizing enterocolitis. We're looking into those cases if your premature infant was diagnosed with that and then developed NEC and either passed away, unfortunately, or survived but has ongoing health issues and health expenses. We're looking into those cases, and that's if they were given Similac or Enfamil as a premature infant and developed NEC with a NEC diagnosis.
And that's
again,
issues in their stomach.
yeah, that's essentially where their stomach develops perforations because of the cow's milk based formula. They can't digest it, so bacteria just invades their little intestines, and it's a nightmare scenario.
Destroys it, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, watch that full episode that we do. We do a full deep dive into those. That's a horrific case, and that we go into more detail on that episode.
And those are still early on in the
Very
investigation.
very early mass tort. It is yet to be centralized, but we expect it soon will be centralized under that MDL system.
Okay. The next one that I've heard a lot, just dealing with you guys, is Paraquat. So tell folks about Paraquat.
Yeah. So Paraquat, we've been looking at hard. Because essentially here in South Carolina, we have a lot of agricultural areas, the tobacco farmers, the soybean farmers, broccoli farmers around this area. Essentially, Paraquat is a weed killer that's been shown to to cause Parkinson's disease. Mm-hmm. Very bad stuff. 3 drops can kill you.
Wow.
So it's intense.
Oh,
but
my
they put it on the crop to wipe everything out so there's no weed and the crops come up.
We're eating food with this stuff on it. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So essentially, you have to be a licensed applicator. You can't just go and buy this like a Roundup. You can't go to Lowe's and buy this stuff. This is licensed applicators on farms in agricultural areas are using that for their farm. And they're the ones we're looking at to be exposed. And they could have been exposed 20 years ago, and now they're developing Parkinson's. Okay, of course, when you get diagnosed by the doctor, you're doubting yourself. You're like, what could have caused this?
Absolutely.
Is it genetic?
Yeah.
Now, a lot of Parkinson's is genetic, but a lot of it is not. And it could be because you were exposed to Paraquat 20 years ago when you were working in the fields around here.
It's crazy they were able to link those two.
Right.
Well, the good thing about Paraquat is that it's highly regulated, and so they have scrupulous notes and records of where it was, where they used it, who bought it. All those things are all centralized, so we know really well. It's very similar to mesothelioma when you go back and you start tracing where they worked, because we have these asbestos places that they've kept up with. Same thing with Paraquat, highly regulated. So we're constantly digging and figuring out if they were exposed and there's a lot of it. because it takes so long to get this kind of stuff, you're seeing, 20 years ago, like Justin said, the exposure could have been 20 years ago. So we're really backtracking and really deep diving into their histories and where they worked, where they lived, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And speaking on where they lived, we're also, this stuff is so toxic. We're looking into cases if you lived in one square mile around a farm where it was applicated.
Yeah.
So we can go back
it's
and
that
pull.
potent.
Yeah. So somebody might say, hey, I've got Parkinson's disease, but I wasn't a farmer. I wasn't agriculture. What we want to know is, okay, well, let's look into your claim. Did you ever live near one of these application sites? And then we can say, was it within what we think the science will support? Was it within a mile of where it was exposed? And then potentially you would have a claim.
Right.
Now, those won't be as strong a claim, we don't think, but obviously the applicators would be the better cases. But we would still want to look into that for you.
Yeah. And we're still waiting for those trials to be scheduled.
Yeah, it's still early on, but we're about to get those going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, moving on to Exactech knee replacement injuries, pretty much.
Yeah. So,
what are those?
okay, so if you had a knee replacement, okay, and we went through this with the attune knee failure, the hip cases that we did a few years ago, the new one out has just been recalled by the FDA. 147,000 knee replacement parts were recalled, and that's the Exactech system. So essentially what happened here is, okay, these things are made in sterile environments, in any kind of medical device.
The knee replacement or the Exactech?
The Exactech knee, the Exactech
It's the brand.
part, the knee,
Okay,
the actual
okay,
knee.
okay.
Exactech is the brand.
Right. Okay.
Okay, so these things are stored in vacuum seals, and then they get shipped to a distribution center. Then they get shipped to, an orthopedics office, and then finally they are implanted in you when you need a knee replacement.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the problem is all that has to be regulated and controlled because that can change what the final part is that's being put into your body, into your knee. So what happened with these is the actual manufacturer had a faulty vacuum seal on when they're sealing it up to ship it. So oxygen gets in there, and what does oxygen do? The oxygen, germs, everything just starts eating away at the parts, which degrade over time. And then by the time it gets implanted into your knee, you have a faulty knee in you. So
terrible.
There's going to be revisions. You're going to have parts that are going to have to go in there and have more orthopedic scope it out and see what's happening. But they've already been recalled. If you've not already got, it's very recent. It's happened in February.
Yeah, it says 140,000 recalls.
Yeah.
That's
So that's
insane.
Yeah, and they're going to have revision surgeries because they're going to fail. I mean, normally a knee would last 15 to 20 years. So they're going to tell you, hey, you got a knee replacement. 15 to 20 years from now, you're going to need to get another one. And so now these people who they got a knee because they already have knee problems. Now they're having knee problems again. They're going to have to go through that second painful surgery earlier on than they were supposed to.
Yeah, it's terrible.
So this one's real early. It literally was just recalled, but we're looking into those cases.
Man, it's
Matter of fact, we went
unfortunate
back and
balance.
started digging through our old files when people called us about knee replacements and they didn't qualify for those to see if they got the attunes.
Wow.
And not a lot of law firms do that. So please give us a call if you had a knee replacement, you had it looked at before, because it could be in this
Absolutely.
recall for sure.
Yeah, good tips there. And then there's all these older mesh torts, right? So the hernia mesh. Talk about some of those that you still keep an eye on.
So the hernia mesh has been going on for years. We're still taking those cases. And essentially, that involves polypropylene mesh that gets implanted during a hernia surgery. It's the most common surgery in the United States. They use faulty recalled mesh. And then what happens is basically your body's inflammatory response just starts attacking that mesh. And it's just a nightmare. So there's all kinds of different issues. We're still taking those cases. They're still on a trial roster through the BARD, hernia mesh, MDL, and others. But you still have time to get those in.
Okay.
So that's the hernia mesh cases.
Okay. And how about
you need to have a revision surgery though. If you didn't have to get, if you just say, hey, I got the mesh, I got a case. No, you don't have a case. You have a case if you had a recalled mesh. So we know it was a faulty mesh because it was recalled, and then you had to undergo a revision surgery to either remove that mesh, or a surgeon says you need a revision surgery, but it's just going to be too dangerous for you.
Yikes.
So either revision or the surgeon says you need it.
Okay. And then I know one that I've been kind of keeping an eye on because I have a lot of veteran friends is the 3M earplug.
Yeah.
So tell folks about what that one is.
The 3M earplug case is, I don't know how they'll ever close this out and settle it. And basically the plaintiff's bar is just, we're trying to try cases as fast as possible to put max pressure on 3M. But that had to do with people who served in war zones. They gave them a faulty earplug, and you know, obviously you're wearing an earplug thinking you could still hear your commander, and then you've got a war zone going on, and, you know, you're having hearing loss. So that involves tinnitus, you know, hearing loss. Some are deaf now.
And
so
tinnitus is ringing in the ear. You know, a lot of people don't know that's what that is.
Yeah.
But it's that ringing in the ear, and I'd rather be deaf than have ringing in my ear. You know what I mean? Because
Constant annoyance.
yeah.
So you basically had those trials are still set. I mean, they're cranking trials, and plaintiffs have got multi-million-dollar verdicts on every one that's been tried. I think one has been lost. So
So they're really going to kind of run out of money before they get to everybody, you think?
well, it's going to be hard to bankrupt 3M. I mean, that's
it's a
very, very large
Okay.
they make billions of dollars.
Okay.
So the question is, you know, are they just going to keep defending these things one by one, which is costly for both sides, or are they going to try to settle everything out at once? And, you know, that's the ultimate question.
Well,
Gotcha.
recently the judge came down and said, we're not postponing these cases. We're not going to do them one by one. Let's do it. And let's try a bunch of them at one time. So plaintiffs' attorneys like us, our firm, other firms are taking these cases and they're going to be trying them. And 3M's going to have to answer to all of them very quickly.
Yeah.
So hopefully that'll put the pressure on them to make them do the right thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would not want to be any of these companies that have done these things.
Yeah.
So what about talc?
Yeah, so talc, and this has been in the news lately, you know, it has to do with asbestos in talc, and that's causing ovarian cancer. And what Johnson & Johnson has done, Emerus, the talc miner, has already been bankrupt. They're in the bankruptcy.
What is talc?
Talc is a
Baby
mineral.
powder.
It's
It's what's you see in most baby powders.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's a
I
mineral.
didn't know what talc was. I've never heard of
Yeah, it's a
that.
mineral mined from the earth.
It's like a chalky.
Okay.
And so what they were doing, they're putting that in their baby powder. Women are using the baby powder that they've been for years, right? It
Your
migrates.
grandmother. I mean, how many? My grandmother. That's all she ever did.
Oh, yeah.
She got
People
a shower and she
swore about
baby
baby
powder
powder.
everything. Yeah,
Yes.
Especially the older generation.
Yes.
So it would migrate into the ovaries, and as it sits there for years, I mean, it creates ovarian cancer, and then a lot of these women have to go through cancer chemotherapy, or they pass away, unfortunately.
Hysterectomies, all that stuff.
Yeah, so terrible stuff.
Yeah.
And literally, if you look at when they take a scanning electron microscope of the ovaries, you can see the asbestos crystals. And the only way it would have got there is from use of shower to shower or baby powder, Johnson & Johnson baby powder. And they owned all the market. So, I mean, it came from them. So Emerus is already bankrupted. They're out. And so the way Johnson & Johnson is trying to get out of this is this bankruptcy code in Texas where they can set aside some money into another subsidiary and immediately bankrupt it. So I think they put aside $2 billion into this new company, bankrupted the company, and said, this is what's going to pay for these ovarian cancer claims. Plaintiffs' bar, we tried to fight it. Judge just recently ruled, no, it can stay. However, we think that they're going to force them to put more money in there. So the bad news is, you know, none of those women, I think, will ever be fully compensated, but they will get something. So
Right.
that's the good news with that. And there's still time to file a claim.
Right.
So
With all of these, right?
Yeah, with all these. So essentially, you know, if you have to prove use, so if you use talc, shower to shower, I shouldn't say use talc, but if you use baby powder, shower to shower, any kind of those feminine hygiene products growing up, and you've been diagnosed with ovarian cancer, it's important that we ask the question, you know, could have this happened from talc exposure?
Yeah.
And then you may have a claim. We can evaluate that for you.
Yeah. I also tell people all the time, you don't realize how many products have talc in them. Like, I bought, my kids had athlete's foot, and so I bought like Loachman, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the spray stuff, a lot of that stuff has talc in it, and you're just spraying it and it's getting into your lungs. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're breathing it. So please be cognizant of the things that have talc in them, because we know now from the science that all talc mines have asbestos in them, and it's just not worth it. Because these companies can be using cornstarch, which has the same effect. It's cheaper, but the reason they didn't is because they own the talc mines.
Yeah.
So be looking at those ingredients, because that stuff matters, because all we want to do is protect our, keep our health and protect our families and our children. So
Yeah.
be looking at those ingredients to see if there's talc in something, and if it does, put it back on the shelf and find something that doesn't.
Yeah. Good advice.
And then ultimately, people just don't know about all these cases we've talked about.
Right.
today.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the reason we're doing this justice report. Let's get the word out. Let's educate as many people as we possibly can. Spread the word, because, obviously if you get in a car wreck, you know to call us, but you may have these issues with you or a loved one or in your family or a friend or anybody.
And think it's unique.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you don't even know it's a claim at all.
Yeah.
So
I mean, like along the way, like I had a client in for a speeding ticket, and he was telling me about how he has lymphoma. And I said, oh my God, I'm so sorry. He was like 25 years old. He's like
Yeah.
a baby. I said, what do you do for a living? You know, as we're talking or whatever. And he said, I've been in landscaping my whole life since I was 15. I've been in landscaping. And so, we ended up figuring out that his lymphoma came from use of Roundup. So we're constantly, we're asking our clients that, being very in tune to this kind of stuff, because who would ever think that this company that you trust is going to give you a product that's going to give you cancer or hernia?
Yeah.
But we've all seen Aaron Brockovich. We know how this rolls, and we've got to hold him accountable.
Yeah.
In the worst case, is the one bad thing about these is once they're closed, they're done because they're making a deal.
And they'll keep selling it.
They'll keep selling it, yeah.
Like Roundup will,
Or they'll
it
change
will
the
close,
label.
and they'll change the label and put a warning,
Wow.
and they will still do it.
But you could lose your case, so it's important to get these in before the MDLs close out and settle.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. It's crazy to me how these mass torts even start up, because how do you even know that your case could, affects other people too,
Well, it usually begins with an FDA recall.
Okay.
Okay, so we're always watching the FDA website, and they'll pop, like the Exactech just popped up in February. So if we see something where 147,000 knee parts
Pull
are
back.
recalled, that turns them up. Hey, there's something
Why?
to this. Why? What kind of damages are there going to be? Is there going to be some litigation? And and in all of these, that's been the case.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for chatting about this. I mean,
Yeah.
folks, they can head online if they want to learn more about mass torts, justiceslovely.com. And of course, you can always keep up with the Lovely Law Firm on any social media outlet that you consume: Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. There's podcasts. They've got everything going on. Carolina Justice Report drops every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Make sure you stay tuned with us.
When life gets ugly, justice is love.